Hello everyone, I'm Corinne Worsley and welcome to this episode of the Live on Purpose show. So I'm really excited to be back with you for another episode and really excited to be sharing this particular topic with you because it is probably the thing that kicked off my own journey of finding my purpose above everything else. And that topic is what to do if it feels like something is missing in your life. How to stop feeling like something is missing from your life. So, back in 2013, as many of you who have heard me speak before, have listened to other podcasts will know this, that niggle that something was missing, that there had to be more to life than this, just got too big for me to ignore any longer. But it was something that had been building for a few years, and really, if I think about how I'd got to that point, it had been building for a very, very long time, since I was probably in my teens, I would say. So, like I say, in 2013, I got to this point where, by all traditional standards, I had it all, almost. I had a great job that was bringing me in six figures. I had the freedom to do whatever I wanted, apart from when I was at my 9 to 5, which wasn't 9 to 5 because I was working 70 plus hours a week and 19 days straight on one occasion. I had the car that I'd always wanted, an Alfa Romeo. I was, and still am, a bit of a petrol head, although I drive something much more sensible now. I had a beautiful flat in a wonderful location that was earning me equity. It was growing in value. By all standards, I had ticked most of the boxes. My body was in great shape as well. I'd been working with a personal trainer at that point for about 3.5 years, and I was fit as a fiddle. There was not a scrap of body fat on me. I was usually full of energy, although that energy was starting to ebb away, I have to say, in 2013, and I was starting to feel the symptoms of not living on purpose and something missing from my life in my body, which was really when I started to listen. So you may have heard me say before that I started to get pain in my shoulder, which I still have to this day. I now have a tendonitis in this shoulder that I have yet managed to heal. And I also, at one point, had a migraine, which I had never, ever had before in my life. And it was a migraine without a headache. So I just started to lose my vision and I thought I was going blind. Drama queen that I am, was, in the first aid room at the office thinking that I'd gone blind, and it was my body telling me, this is not the right path. You really have to start listening. And this is why I'm so keen to share this topic with you, because it's so important when we have that feeling not to ignore it and not to dismiss its importance, which I think so many of us do. Like I say, my life looked full on the outside, but it was feeling more and more empty on the inside. It didn't matter how many boxes I ticked, something just was not right. And so I started my quest to figure out what the hell was going on and how to feel fulfilled and like I was actually living the life that I was meant to be living. So what I want to share with you today is 4 ways that you can stop that feeling of something missing from your life. So I'm going to walk you through a few of the things that I've discovered on my own journey that will hopefully help you to put a stop to that feeling once and for all. So number one, if you are asking the question, it's because there is something missing from your life. So I think this is something that many of us who feel like we're in a very privileged position, I know that I inherently am privileged, just because of the parents I was born to, the fact that I'm white, I have an inherent privilege, and also because of what I had achieved, because of my academic abilities. I had done really well at school. I really didn't struggle at school or at university or really in the world of work. Nothing was actually that difficult for me. Whatever I decided I wanted to do, I could do. I could make my reality. I went from being a translator to being an IT transformation consultant because I decided I wanted to do it. And that there really is a sense of privilege in that. But what that often leads to is this idea that because I have so much, I can't possibly ask for anything more. And so we diminish this feeling of there's something missing from our lives, that we're not happy, because we feel guilty. We feel like we're being entitled to even put our hand up and say, actually, it feels like something is missing here, and I don't know what it is, but I really feel like I want to live a life where I feel completely lit up and fulfilled. When we're coming from this place of seemingly having it all, it can often lead to us believing that we don't really have a right to ask for anything more because we've got so much. But the thing is, it's not about how much we have here on this earth. It's about how aligned you are with your true self. That for me is the essence of this. It doesn't matter how much somebody has, if they're not aligned with their true self and what they are here to do in this lifetime, then they're never going to be really contributing the best of them. And really, how does it serve anybody else who has less than you, for instance, by traditional standards, for you not to live the fullest life that you can possibly live? It doesn't serve them. It doesn't make their lives any better by you living in misery. So that is something I really want you to bear in mind, to really get to grips with this idea that it is not indulgent. You are not asking too much. You are not being spoilt and behaving like a princess or a prince just because you want to feel that sense of fulfillment every single day in your life. And also, that feeling that there's something missing is a signal, it's a sign to change direction. It's a sign that you're not currently really living the life where you are going to contribute the most that you can, enjoy life to the max, because ultimately when we're enjoying our lives to the max is when we're going to be able to contribute as much as possible. It's a sign, it's a signal that it's time to take a slight change of direction, maybe a complete change of direction, because there is something else that you are meant to do. Maybe you're finished with that particular thing, that particular area of life, that particular phase, shall we say, and it's time for the next one. So it's a sign, and it needs to be heeded, and it needs to be listened to. And again, this is something that I will come back to in one of the points that's on its way. Second thing that I want you to take into consideration is, how do you feel? So it's really important to get in touch with how you are feeling on a day-to-day basis. Again, so many of us dismiss this as indulgent and not important to take into consideration how we're feeling in our relationships, how we're feeling in our jobs, how we're feeling in our homes. We really don't listen to our feelings that much because they're often inconvenient, right? It's really inconvenient that you're feeling a bit depressed when you've got to get to work and do the job and keep a face on and keep up the show for everybody, because it's making it more difficult. You just wish that feeling would go away. Well, actually, that feeling, again, just like the feeling that something's missing, those feelings are clues. They are signs. They are the things that are going to lead you to a path of fulfillment and no longer feeling like something is missing. if you will listen to them, if you will take them seriously. Again, I feel like it's our conditioning, it's the culture that we live in, is to squash down feelings. They're not important, and to carry on regardless, and really not take into consideration how we feel about something or someone. And I remember being in the office one day and one of my colleagues having a bit of a rough time, and one of the managers, the leaders, coming over and saying, "We don't bring our emotions to work." And I just thought, I mean, even now I just got goose pimples when I said that. I don't know whether my mouth dropped open. Probably it did, because I didn't really stand on keeping up appearances at that point. I just thought, this is what is wrong with the corporate culture, and this corporate in particular, or maybe just that section of the corporate. How can you not bring your emotions to work? That they're needed. And also, we're emotional beings who think occasionally, whether we like it or not. That is the truth. So get in touch with how you are feeling. If on a daily basis, when you're going to this particular job that you're going to, you are feeling just desperate and depressed and exhausted, there's some pretty good clues in there that something needs to change. Probably the job needs to change. It might be just a new company. It might be that you need a complete change of career. But those are pretty good clues. So our feelings, when we feel good, it's a sign that we're aligned with our path and our purpose. When we don't feel good on a consistent basis, that is a very strong sign that we are off our path in some way, shape, or form. So that is number 2. Notice how you're feeling. Take notice and listen to how you are feeling and use it as information. Then 3, look for the signs. So when I was at the beginning of my path, my journey of self-discovery and personal development, and deciding that I wanted to do something different and something new, I was guided to read a book by a lady called Bronnie Ware, which is called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And you may have heard of this book, you may have not. For me, it was a huge catalyst, and it is something that I still come back to today. And it doesn't sound like a particularly cheerful book, and it isn't in a way, but it is profoundly insightful. So this lady, Bronnie Ware, spent many years working as a palliative carer for people who were in the last days of their life. So she had first-hand knowledge, an upfront view of what that was really like, how their families behaved, how they behaved, and she got to be privy to their regrets in their final days. And what she started to notice was that there were some common themes coming up and up and up, and these translated in her book into the top 5 regrets of the dying. And one of those regrets was, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself instead of living a life that others expected of me. And really, this is what we're dealing with when we're talking about a feeling that something's missing. The only thing that can be missing ultimately is you, your full self, you aligning with what's true for you, what you really desire, the relationship you really want to be in instead of the one that you think you have to settle for, or the job that you really want to do, or the business that you really want to start instead of the one that is the sensible option, the less risky option. I mean, how risky, they might seem less risky, but when you end up with major health concerns, like I did, that's pretty damn risky. That because I was out of alignment, because when we get out of alignment, things start to happen to our health, which if we don't have our health, we really don't have much. So this is what we really need to pay attention to, having the courage to live a life that is true to us instead of living the life that others expect of us, because that is a surefire way to lose yourself and to feel that something is missing in your life. Because, like I said, the thing that's missing is you, the authentic you, the true you, your true desires, what really lights you up, you connecting with that on a daily basis. So I would urge you, if you haven't read the book, to go and read it, or I think there's a blog post which is a bit of a shorter way to get that information. But really have a look at Bronnie Ware's work and just let that sink in. You know, what would it really mean if you had the courage to live a life true to yourself instead of living the life that other people expected of you? And yeah, I think that could maybe be a fifth tip, but let's put it in number 3. Where are you living a life that is the life others want you to live instead of living the life that you want to live? And it can be so almost discreet and indiscernible, if that's a word, that, you know, if I look back, I'd ticked all these boxes, I'd followed the path, but my parents never told me that I had to do a certain thing. Nobody ever told me that I had to go to university. It was something I'd absorbed from the culture around me rather than being directly told. So it may not even be that you had familial pressures on you to be a certain way and do a certain thing. It can be a societal thing where you look around you and you see that the traditional model of success is where you have a good paying job, you go and work in an office, you get yourself a flat that's gonna earn you equity, you have the nice car, you have the nice clothes, your body looks a certain way. And all of these things are like subliminal messages that we get from society as to how we should be living our lives and what a successful life looks like. And that's why so many of us now are getting to the point of, but that's not what I really want. That's not who I truly am. And it's a very patriarchal way of living as well, and way of measuring. And we are moving much more into the feminine. It's taking a while, but we are moving towards valuing the feminine as much as we value the masculine, and being able to bring them together so that we can be in touch with our feelings and be in touch with ourselves and our intuition, and value that as much as logic and taking action and the traditional view of what success looks like. We are coming up with some other views of what success is, thankfully. And pay attention to these signs when they arrive. So like that book landing for me, this is tip number 4, let's say. So you're getting the signs in tip number 3, look out for them. But when you do get them, pay close attention, take them seriously. If you're being called to do something, you have an urge to do something, follow that urge. It is your inner guidance, more than likely, showing you the way, unless that urge is to do something criminal and outrageous, and, you know, let's discount those things. But if it's an urge to do something that lights you up, that brings you joy, that you're fascinated by, then follow that urge. Don't ignore it, because it's going to metastasize. It's going to fester if you don't follow those urges. And again, if I come back to my own story, always speaking from personal experience, I followed the urges to a degree, in that I started down my path of personal development and listening to Brené Brown and reading Brené Brown and Bronnie Ware and training to be a coach and doing all of the things. But I was not giving enough credence to the messages that were telling me I needed to live in a different way, and there was a different path for me to follow. I questioned it and challenged it so much, to the point that I ended up staying in my job because I needed to be there financially. In theory, I could have started a business coaching and, you know, and earned some extra income and not had that need. I stayed way too long, to the point where at the end of 2015, when I finally left, I was exhausted. My shoulder I was just in pain all the time. I was depressed. At some points, you know, I struggled to even get myself to work. Like 9 became a target time for me. I was like, yeah, 9:15, 9:30, thereabouts, that'll be all right. I had to sit on my bed some days to dry my hair. I was so exhausted, and I still didn't listen. I still didn't pay full attention. Like I said, the migraine, all of these things I really didn't pay proper attention to. I just thought, I just need to be out of this corporation, and that then everything's going to be fine. And it wasn't, because I had ignored the signs and the lessons for so long at this point that my body then had to get involved to send me the message. And by the time I left corporate in 2015, I was so disillusioned. I was like, this coaching stuff is nonsense. It doesn't work. It's all a load of bullshit, and I'm going to create a property empire and just become a millionaire and never have to work again in my life. I don't want anything to do with coaching. And then I discovered that, being a passionate person that I am, there was no way I could set up a business doing property that, when I had zero interest in that whatsoever, it was just ugh. And so I gradually came back round to the coaching. I gradually accepted that I'm feeling pretty shitty physically. Let me work with somebody. So I started working with a nutritionist who's really a functional medicine practitioner. Started discovering the damage that had happened to my body from me staying too long in something that was not what I was meant to be doing, and from ignoring the signs, ignoring the messages, trying to pretend that I could change my life by still doing things in the same way. So I could still follow all of the same corporate structures and ways of being and measurings of success. And I could still hang on to that identity that I had of being a hard-nosed corporate woman whilst feeling different. Well, no, that just doesn't work that way. You know, I needed to listen to the lessons that were telling me, you need to live in a different way. It's like it was knocking on my head. I don't know if you've ever read Harry Potter. There's a scene where Dumbledore is offering Harry Potter's kind of foster parents, the Dursleys, something to drink, and the cups just gradually keep knocking them and knocking them and knocking them on the head harder and harder and harder, because they're trying to ignore them. And Dumbledore ultimately says, it would have been easier just to drink the drink that I was offering you. And that's really what I'm trying to convey here. It's so much easier when we listen to the messages from the beginning, when we trust them from the beginning. And I get why it's so difficult. We've been taught, we've been conditioned not to listen to ourselves, to listen to everybody else outside of us, to go and seek reassurance from everybody else outside of us. But it's not the key to living a happy life, and it is going to leave you feeling like something's missing, because you're not connected to your truth and to the guidance that is going to always keep you on that path that will lead you in the direction of fulfillment and happiness and success, a version of success that you're prescribed to, that you're signed up to, not somebody else's version of success. And I'll also say, not only did I end up with adrenal fatigue that took me 2 years, if not longer, I'm still working to put my body back in a good place to fix. I got very, very close to financial ruin. If I didn't have the support of my family, and I hadn't had a flat that I could sell to support myself, I went to some pretty extreme places financially, and I would wish that on nobody. So I really, really urge you that not only have you got to look for the signs, you've got to pay attention to them, take them seriously, and listen to them. And if you do all of those things, then you are likely to find that you will find the path where it doesn't feel like something is missing. So let me just do a quick recap of the 4 things that I've shared. So if you're asking the question, if you're feeling like something's missing, it's because it is, and it's probably you, and it is not indulgent, and it is not entitled to be asking that question, even if you are a bloody millionaire already. If you feel like something is missing, then it's because it is, and it's because there's a slight tweak in your path required. Pay attention to how you're feeling. Do not disregard your feelings or the importance of your feelings. It is so important to use your feelings to guide you in the direction that is going to make you feel good. That's how you will end up feeling like there isn't something missing, because you're following your feelings and you're listening to them instead of pushing them away because they're inconvenient. You've got to look for the signs. Take notice of the signs. So the book that landed in front of me, I could have chosen not to read it, but I chose to read it. So when you're getting information coming your way, opportunities coming your way that you feel like your intuition feels like might be a good next step for you or the right next piece of information, then follow that. Don't ignore the signs and look for more of them, and pay attention when they do come. So if you're feeling things in your body, pay attention. If you're feeling shitty on a day-to-day basis, pay attention. If you're having financial difficulties, pay attention. Just do not ignore the signs that you're being given that are guiding you in a particular direction, just because they're inconvenient and they might mean that you're going to have to change your life. And I think maybe let's add one final tip to the end of this video, is you've got to be courageous and you've got to be prepared to do things differently. If something feels like something's missing, then yes, we can think and we can meditate and all of that is good. But even that really is doing something differently. Ultimately, we have to do something different if we want to have something different, if we want to feel something different, even if it's just thinking in a different way. You've got to have the courage to listen to the signs, pay attention to the signs, feel your feelings, and then be ready to take action, take different action in order to move you to a place where you feel fulfilled and lit up on a daily basis. So that is everything that I wanted to share with you today. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. If you have, please do share it with anybody else who you feel might benefit. And I would also love if you could leave me a review or a comment. So whether you're watching on YouTube or listening as a podcast, please do leave me a review. I'd be really grateful for that. And please do get in touch if you've got any questions, anything that you want to ask off the back of this episode. That is what I'm here for. And I would love to hear from you. So all that being said, I wish you all extremely well, and I look forward to being back with you again very, very soon for the next episode of the Live on Purpose show. Bye for now.